Hi everybody, I'm Terry Stiles and welcome to the Oxford Township offices. I'm with Jack Curtis, trying to do this once a month, catching up with him thing, but it's been a few weeks, a little longer than once a month. But I'm here to talk to Jack about what's going on here at the Township building. That's our tax dollars. I know that you've got some capital improvement projects that you might be looking at. How did that come about?
Yes, Terry, we realized that the building is approximately 15 years old. With all the traffic, the activities that go on here, the number of people that come and visit us, there's a lot of wear and tear in the building.
Sure.
So we formed a committee in February to identify all the needs that have to be done in the building and on the township properties. Some of it maintenance, some of it redoing things that have just gotten worn out. One of the big examples is our parking lot. The shifting, the parking, the salt, the frost has a high impact on it. And right now we have cracks and asphalt deterioration, so it has to be considered.
Wow.
But we just don't go out and spend the money. What we do is the committee recommends by priority, A, B, C, what needs to be done, what could be done, and what may be done or be nice to be done.
Right.
Some of the things I can tell you right now is the building being 15 years old hasn't been painted in 15 years. You can see its wear on, now this office was painted 2 years ago, but the other part of the building hasn't been painted in 15 years.
Gosh.
So there's drywall mars and cracks. The color is marred with shoe scuffs or children's hands or bumping it with voting machines or people pushing things in and out. So there's some wear. So we are considering a capital improvement plan. We've got several items identified and we're working towards the future of cleaning them up.
So on that plan, does the board have to adopt it and say, okay, yes, we agree to that? Or is that just something that just evolves and starts happening? How does that work?
We assign a committee and they take inputs from everybody that says they visit the hall, they visit this area, and we should look at doing this.
Okay.
The committee then takes all of these and prioritizes them. Things that are really going to be affected and need to be done right now, we bring them to the board and explain what the cost estimate would be to do it. Then the township board, the members of the board, review that and either approve it or deny it. And quite frankly, it's what the board does in the fiduciary responsibility of the township. Each board member is charged with making sure we spend tax dollars correctly.
Right.
Yeah.
And how do you form this committee? Who are they?
It's members of the board.
Okay.
And the board members, we have 3 people assigned to it, John Nold, myself, and Curtis Wright. So we sit down and we take everybody's input and then we prioritize them.
Which makes total sense that you're here. You're working in this building, you and Curtis especially, every day, so you know what it needs, and that if there's a leak in the faucet in one of the bathrooms, etc., that other people wouldn't know.
We measure the impact of each situation that we have. Yeah, if you have a leaky toilet, most people don't understand that can be hundreds and hundreds of gallons of water. And if you don't monitor that, your water bill or your sewer bill goes astronomically high. So we watch everything, not only the pencils and papers, what the impact of the no maintenance cost on the building is.
So how do you set money aside for that? How does that work? What's that look like?
Every year at budget time, about August, we look at the general fund, and then we do a line item for building improvements. And for a few years, we hadn't been doing these improvements, or if we did, it was out of necessity. Something actually broke.
Putting the fire out rather than preventing it.
Correct. Proactive now with the committee instead of reactive when something breaks. We know life cycle of asphalt is 15 years. So you're starting to see the degradation of that asphalt, and it needs attention. Otherwise, it's going to cost more in the future.
Yeah, and it could look like a disaster.
Well, potholes, cracking, trip
Yeah.
hazards, those kind of things we have to avoid at a governmental building.
Absolutely. That could
Yes.
lead to lawsuits.
Yes.
So let's move beyond the building. I know that you've been working on safety paths, which is wonderful. And then beyond that is our business area, our economic area. What's going on there?
Well, first let's address the safety paths.
Okay.
Walkability in the township, connecting it with the village, the activities of the DDA, all the chamber members. We want to get all residents to have a walk or a ride your bike to those entities in our community.
Right.
We do not have a safety path millage. So most of these paths have been installed by the developer paying for them, contributions from corporations and businesses, and our magnificent grant writer.
Yeah.
He has garnered us several hundred thousands of dollars to put these paths in our community. Now, we have a complete 5-mile circuit around Waterstone.
Yeah.
In and about Waterstone, out to the village, from the village back out to the township. And we are seeing many, many people park in the parking lot out here and get on the township safety paths and walk all the way around. They do a 5-mile loop. One of the other benefits to that, our grants manager got contributions and some grants for a pocket park. We see families come out, take the stroller out, take their young children out, and start riding through the safety path system around. When they get back, we will now have the Helen Smith pocket park being added to the front of the township out here.
Fabulous.
It'll have some playground equipment, some exercise equipment, a bike repair station, a bench to sit on, dedicated to our former supervisor. So it's kind of like a focal point on a 5-mile path, exercise and rest and recuperation from your walk too. So,
Fantastic. And I have to say this out loud. I have some friends that actually moved into this community because of that, because they're able to walk wherever they want to go.
yes,
And we're all being very conscientious about the gas and money we're spending.
Yes.
So you're ahead of the curve on that one.
we have had many inquiries on how come we don't have a safety path out to one of our jewels, the Seymour Lake Park.
Right.
That safety path would cost us roughly $1 million.
Right.
Okay, we do not have a millage that says let's take 1 mil and apply it to providing a safety path, safe access, complete from the easterly border of Oxford Township at Bar Road all the way to Seymour Lake, which is almost to Baldwin, the other end of the township. A lot of that path is segmented, installed as developers paid for it, but to design, develop, and implement the easements and the installation of that path costs a lot of money.
Sure.
But I think that's would be a crown
goal,
jewel.
good goal, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have many inquiries as to how they can, walkability can be improved to get to Seymour Lake Park.
So, and you talked about easements. That actually means purchasing some of the property, right, to get by there? Or would those paths go through the existing easements?
No, it would entail some acquisition of easements. Some folks are very happy to have that installed. They'll take $1 for it.
Wow.
Some people want, it's each individual has their own requirements. Some people want more money for you to put a path there. Now, are they hamstringing the other members of the community? Sure. Are they not invading on their privacy? It's nowhere near their home, and we can get a walkability. It's personal opinion, personal preference on whether or not we have to acquire it for a lot of money or a simple $1.
And so, not getting into too much detail, but when you think of from here to the Seymour Lake Park, which is about 2 miles?
It's probably 1.5 miles at least, Jerry, yeah.
On the north side of the road, there are homes.
Yes.
On the south side of the road, there's a few homes, and then there's swamp. Would that be an easier path?
Well,
No pun intended.
an easier path is, in our mind, a safer path. We already have people crossing Seymour Lake Road here at Dunlap.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to cross Seymour Lake Road, that's a challenge in itself.
True.
Now, we have pathway to the creek, the drain.
Yes.
And then we'd cross over again, move down and go down about a half a mile, and then cross back over. You're putting people in harm's way, having them walk back and forth across Seymour Lake Road.
Okay.
It's a challenge to keep the safety and the property owner's rights to not have an easement there.
Right, right.
So we only have 4 easements to attain from 4 homeowners. If we had those, we could then start developing and applying for grants to put those in. So we're working on it daily.
So are those wheels in motion, or have they been spoken to, or?
We have met with them.
Oh, good.
Individually. We have met with them with a group.
Nice.
I've met with them. Our treasurer has met with them, who is the Safety Path Committee chair.
Oh, right, he is. Yeah.
And our grants manager has met with them. Our engineers met with them.
Wonderful.
Showing them how far away from the house, what we'd actually require. And, it's tough.
So yeah, I can think of one house that's right at the road where that might be difficult for them, but can they veer off and go behind those homes?
It's tough to say exactly. We have challenges like we have to cross the drain. We have to cross a swamp. Right. We have many challenges, one of which is the home that's right there, right on the road. Right on the road, exactly. Right. So we're faced with a lot of challenges.
Yeah, you are.
And we have a very strong engineer who has many opportunities to help us get there.
Well, thank you for doing that, because that really makes our entire community walkable.
It does.
It takes everybody to all the major
again, we have
gifts that we have in this community.
Exactly. We have pickleball courts going in. We have a farmer's market going in. We have basketball, Kids Kingdom, the playground, baseball, lacrosse. So simple, so silly it to me is, I'm going to drive to the park so I can jog.
Yeah, right.
I want a safe place to walk, so I'm going to drive to the park.
Yeah.
Why don't you walk to the park, enjoy the amenities, and walk back home? Twice the exercise. So we're cognizant of people's needs, but we also have to be cognizant of the homeowners' needs, that we want to cross their property with a path.
Right, right. Well, that's good. You only have 4. Okay, on to our businesses, our economic wheels, if you will.
Our economic wheels are, you'll hear me talk about the township in transition. We have to prepare for the future. So we are installing a sewer line. We are connecting and building integrity in our water, preparing for developments that are coming. Economic development, I don't know about you, where you eat or what I eat, is all different. Everybody wants something. Yeah. We have a Taco Bell coming to Oxford. We had one years ago. Do you remember where it was?
I got to think about it.
It was in Boomba's on Drainer and
right. I knew
24.
It was in somebody's. I couldn't remember.
Well, when Taco Bell moved out, they had a different business plan. Standalone, drive-through. COVID caused the drive-through. Now Taco Bell has been through our planning commission. Final site plan is there. We're doing a development agreement with them. They should be breaking ground shortly at an outlot at Meyer, right next to the Chase Bank.
Wonderful.
Economic development, we're still looking for a hospital. Now, all the hospital systems know that Oxford is an underserved area. Now, we have a hospital system that has degraded, it's old, it's getting obsolete. Now they have committed to a $35 million investment building a 50,000 square foot fully operational emergency center that will have staffed doctors on staff. They have CAT scan machines still. They're going to be building this first, and then they will tear down the obsolete building. That's the old people refer to it as POH.
POH.
Yes, and now it's owned by McLaren. McLaren will be starting late March, early April. We're in conversation with them daily. They're all fully passed through the final site plan, waiting for a development agreement. They have their steel on order, so we're anxiously awaiting a true 24-hour emergency care center.
Yeah, they used to be, it seems like, when they first opened. They were 24-hour.
It was 24 hours, and it's slowly
and we don't have that at
itself.
all anywhere here.
We don't have that at all.
And I can't think of anywhere besides the hospitals that we do have that.
17 miles to the south, 17 miles to the north. You can drive over to the Clarkston, McLaren area, but that may be 15 miles away, but it's a longer drive through the back roads.
Sure is.
And quite frankly, you know, I quote the one lady who said, "How do you get your child to a hospital 17 miles away with a Lego stuck up their nose?"
Oh,
and you know, when that was said in front of the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, a few doctors on the panel kind of giggled and said, "That is an emergency to a mother whose child has got a Lego stuck in their nose."
It is. It really is.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, what kind of time frame does McLaren have, or do they have to have one? Do you have to have a start and finish date?
No, it's all based on construction availability, steel availability. We're still suffering greatly from supply chain management through the COVID. Perfect example is our sewer. We're waiting for a lift station pump so we can start work on it, permitting through Eagle, Great Lakes Authority, our WRC. Most of that's done. We're just waiting for parts and pieces to come so that we can improve that lift station. So anybody that's building a building knows, even a house, you're subject to the cost of materials and availability.
Even cars. I have a car that doesn't have a chip in it yet.
Yes.
7 months down the road.
I just got mine. I got heated seats and we're almost out of it. Right?
Yeah. So how about as far as developments? Is there any plans coming up for developments in the area?
Oxford is, I mentioned earlier, the transition of a township. Oxford is the northernmost township in Oakland County. It's directly above Orion Township. And as you know, the development in Orion Township is almost the affordable land is almost all gone. They still have a lot of properties that they have of consideration for development, but residential is moving this way, urban sprawl.
Yeah. Well, and Oxford is really becoming a destination, regardless of for what reasons, whether it's, we certainly are a food destination these days.
Yes.
And economically, businesses want to be here. Regardless of what their business is, if they can do it, they want to be here.
Yes. When you have, I always use a little chart I have. It's the amount of, we break it out into industrial, commercial, and residential properties. 85% of our tax, it's almost 80, I think it's 86 now, 86% of our tax base comes from residential. We only have 10% in industry. Now, the tax base of residential, people want to come here and serve that. People that are here want them to come here so that they can be served. So it's a balance, if you will. We have to be properly prepared for it through planning, through infrastructure, and we're trying to do our best to get that accomplished and placate both the needs of residents wanting to move here and businesses coming to address those residents.
The needs.
And I get the old adage of, we don't want to grow, we don't want to do this, we don't want to do that. Well, you know what? I ask people, who let me here? Who let me into Oxford?
Yeah, right.
51 years ago, I came here as a young kid.
Yeah.
I moved here to Oxford. Who let me in? I know my house is built on an old farm lot that was a 200-acre parcel.
Sure.
Now it went to 80, and they split it down into Suburban Farms 1. We are getting a lot of people that are taking their land now and saying, hey, it's time.
Well, they can no longer farm it. You can't afford to farm it.
You can't
if you have
afford
a
to farm
small, and small, by small I mean a 200-acre farm is a small farm. If you're
very
talking
small
about
farm.
farming for food, maybe cattle is a different story, but people can't afford it anymore, unfortunately. What they can afford is to sell their property for $1 million.
Right. We have a beautiful equine district and an agricultural district to our north. We are not, the township, the planning commission, the zoning board of appeals, we are not taking anybody that says they want to go up into the equine district, the hunt club area, and develop it.
Oh, yeah, right.
We have several old residents that are moving on. The Don Hickmont farm a few years ago was split down from one parcel was 160 acres. Now it's down into 20-acre parcels, and they're becoming residents. But we do not allow Pulte or Ivanhoe Huntley or some of those to come in and build massive subdivisions. We are seeing subdivisions of 48, 50, 18, 85, moving in on lands that are zoned for it in a master plan. So we are very cognizant that we're developing to how we should without impacting some of the jewels, like our horse country.
Sure. Right. Allowing us our elbow room
Yes.
that we're all accustomed to.
We have 500 acres of open green space parks that are owned by Oxford Township, not inclusive of the village parks.
Right.
The township parks are run, now by Phil Castonia, and they're great places to come and visit. So we will have open spaces once some of these smaller properties are developed into residence for the future.
So Koenig, one more question and then we're done. Koenig's property has been sold, correct?
Yes.
I can't remember his last name.
Perrick.
Okay, thank you.
The Koenig property was sold to Dan's Excavating owners.
Oh, got
They
it.
have many companies that they operate under. Their realty company has bought the 1,200-acre Koenig site.
Wow.
A lot of work was done when you bore the soil and find additional resources that haven't been sought after in the last few years. They are going to actively mine the property for probably 20 years. They have right now, currently, they're going to move their scales back and pave to eliminate the dirt washout on the roads.
Very good.
They're going to be good stewards of our community. They're contributing to the Pollyant Trail. They're fencing for safety off the lake. And they are mining areas that were thought to have been unproductive in the past, and poor mining practices of the past are being remediated. We just did their gravel inspection not too long ago. They're removing some of the eyesores of hills and valleys that were created by poor mining practices in the past, and they are mining valuable resources to improve our roads, fix our roads, and build our communities.
Very good. Very good. I had heard the rumor that property was sold, and I know a lot of people were concerned that was going to be a densely populated subdivision, which would add more traffic to that corner, etc. So I'm glad you cleared that
Carrie,
up.
I watch
You've heard
that
it too.
constantly because I live right outside the gate of that
I know.
community.
Yeah.
The big thing is they're not going to develop all that 1,200 acres in the near future. There's valuable resources in the ground they're going to remove.
Fabulous.
They are remediating areas that haven't been, but they are going to continue doing Tough Mudder, We meet with those people this afternoon for Tough Mudder races, for Spartan races. So they're continuing to help our community be vibrant, bringing close to 15,000 people. Now, when they bring them, those participants to our community, we need our community to embrace that and bring them to our businesses. Let's look forward. Who else brings besides the parks? Lacrosse tournament, soccer tournaments, baseball tournaments. Tough Mudder, 15,000 people. I bring them here. What are we going to do with them? Let's get them in our village. Let's get them in our businesses. Let's get them spending their money here.
Agreed. Yep. Well, you're still doing the work.
I'm trying. I don't please everybody. My office is always open. We always talk. We're talking about speed limits on gravel roads. We're battling through our Oakland County supervisors, township supervisors. We meet monthly, and we talk about the weak points. We talk about the strong points. We try to encourage our legislature to change laws, amend laws, fix laws to better improve our community. One of them is the speed limit laws on gravel roads.
So glad you're addressing that.
Well,
it's been a problem for 20 years.
It's silly. A speed limit sign doesn't stop people from speeding.
Agreed.
It just tells people, look, these road conditions are not suitable for driving 55 and 60.
To mention, it makes the roads worse.
Right. And we moved to the country to be on the country roads. I don't want to live on a gravel road, but if I did, I certainly don't want people going 55 on a road that you should be going 25 on.
And you have children. You've got most people that move out to the country have children.
Yes, they do.
My son lives on Newman Road in Lake Orion, so
yes.
It's an issue for me. But
Yes.
I appreciate that you are addressing that. That went in the early 2000.
Yes, it
that
did.
Went back up to 55.
Yeah, it's all under the authority of the Michigan State Police, and if you don't have so many driveway counts in this area, your speed limit is 55.
It's too bad.
So there are a lot of things that we do here in the supervisor's office, that we work with other supervisors. There is power in unity, and we work together to try to get our legislatures to change things. And it's something that we are driving forward in this administration to get us where we want to be.
Well, bravo. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Thanks for meeting with us again.
Oh, you're welcome.
My name is Natalie Moser. I'm a volunteer here at Canine Stray Rescue, and this is my playful pal, Stalking. Stalking is just turned 1 year old in January. He's about 51 pounds and he's a Shepherd mix. He's still got a lot of puppy energy. He's energetic, he's very playful. A meet and greet with any other dogs would be helpful because his energy can be too much for some. But he enjoys playing with other dogs. He's just a big goofball who enjoys his toys. He knows a few commands like sit, and he's just a great playful pup. He does have some mouthy and jumpy behavior, so we ask that kids in the home be at least 8 years old. Not because he's aggressive or vicious, just because he can probably knock down smaller children with his playfulness. He is a strong leash puller, so he does need some manners. Public school would be great for him to learn some basic commands like sit and down. I'm surprised he's still here. He's a shepherd mix. He's got great coloring. He's just a beautiful dog. If you're interested in adopting Stalking or any of our other dogs, visit caninestray.com to fill out an application.